welcome to Good Game. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
Tonight on the show, we play with our Oculus Rift VR headset, and for the first time, Hex, we play some big, juicy, meaty VR games.
Yeah, it's weird and kind of exciting to be playing more games this way, isn't it? Tonight we're going to take you on 2 VR experiences, the moody action RPG Chronos.
What you got there? Some sort of gun? Oh, it's not going well.
And from Insomniac Games, the suspenseful Edge of Nowhere. Blood. Oh my gosh, severed limb.
What could have done this?
And there is the rest of him. What's that?
Plus, we go back to the 80s with the absolutely mad Trials of the Blood Dragon.
And Bajo, I believe you and Goose are going to show us a few more of the games that you saw at E3.
That's right, Hex, and we're going to rope in NichBoy too to chat about the Halo Wars 2 beta. But before all that, can you name the game for this week? What do you get when you take a game about landing motorcycles correctly and slap an 80s action hero movie story over the top? You get delightful nonsense.
Cyber Commandos, pipe down.
Here goes nothing. Now what? Trials of the Blood Dragon is a spin-off of the brilliant racing platformer series, but is actually based on another spin-off, the Far Cry Blood Dragon DLC. If you haven't played Trials before, it's basically about guiding a motorbike through obstacles and then trying to do it faster than all of your friends.
Who would have thought at Hex that driving a motorbike left to right over a variety of obstacles was the perfect combination for obsessive competitiveness? And when they announced the release of this wacky action hero spin-off with obnoxious characters and cutscenes at E3 a few weeks ago, everyone wondered, but why?
Yeah, and it's been getting a pretty bad rap from games press overall. Even our own NichBoy didn't like it. But Bajo, we, on the whole, disagree.
That's right, Hex. In fact, we kind of love it. Let's talk about why. Firstly, it has a story. The USA is at war with communist Vietnam for the 4th time. But now they have Blood Dragon tech. You play Roxanne and Slater, the daughter and son of a cyborg action hero. And to win the war and complete your mission objectives, you have to use motorbikes and stuff.
As you progress through the levels, bookended with some very tongue-in-cheek cutscenes, you begin to learn more about your father, your missing mother, and set about to stop the commies.
This will see you infiltrating bases, taking out guards, and eventually going to space, flying through a vortex to hell, taking out alien insectoid communists, a spooky minecart section, and even some boss fights. This crazy story is a bit hard to follow, but I dig the style, Hex. I think it worked for Far Cry, and it works here too.
Yeah, I mean, there may be a few cringe-worthy moments and perhaps questionable voice acting.
I'm telling you, this key better be worth it. The thingy you've built out of the intel we got from the Queen Bug, that gizmo to disable the kill star, it's not a gizmo.
But then again, this is obviously a game that's going for a very particular style of 80s satire, action, hacking, cyber, super radical style of humor, and I just couldn't help but find myself laughing.
Yeah, I think if you want to have fun with this game, you just have to get on board with it and soak in the cringe.
Whatever says stay cool.
Yeah, the whole story and design is a hyper-stylized view of what was popular in the 80s, complete with weird ads and animated sections.
Yeah, it's a bit like watching an Adult Swim cartoon, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and just as nonsensical.
The bedroom hub zone that connects everything together was really cool, I thought. This is where the 2 kids hang out and choose costume options or missions. And the music is sensational.
Yeah, it's so good. I'd almost recommend playing this just for the soundtrack alone. Yeah. The addition of a story isn't the biggest change to the series, though. Along with the standard racing sections, you'll also be busting through walls in an APC, riding a stealthy bicycle, playing with a remote-controlled flippy car, and even getting out on foot for some platforming. Most of this works quite well, although the APC levels don't really have much challenge to them, and that bicycle is a little bit clumsy to control. However, that flippy car, Hex, I love that flippy car. I want a whole game with flippy car. Flippity flips.
Yeah, it works well on all those levels where you need to switch between reversing and accelerating to get through. You also get a weapon for a fair bit of the game. You use it to take out enemies or weird tumor things which play into the platforming. You know, honestly, I've never been the biggest Trials nut. I don't chase those crazy scores, and I don't have that rabid passion for it that some others do. So for me, it was actually really cool to have some extra challenges alongside the racing.
Yeah, nothing really overstays its welcome either. I especially like the grapple sections. I think they're my favorite parts of the game, actually. I think we could all agree that the platforming is probably the less developed part of the game. What did you think of it?
I mean, it's no Shadow Complex. It does feel a little bit floaty. I just think maybe if it had a few more moves, slightly better animation perhaps, maybe some dashes or slides, it would feel a little less like filler. But as I said, I did like the addition of them because for me it just makes the whole experience way more interesting.
Yeah, it's not broken, you know, it serves a purpose. And I did like that challenge of jumping and shooting at an angle at the same time.
I think what I like most about this Trials, Bajo, is that it's all just a big surprise. The Blood Dragon theme has given them license to get a bit creative and do some explosive moments. And really, I'm on board with anything that has a very distinct personality, and this certainly has that.
Yeah, stuff's always crashing around you or on you, and at one point you even ride a missile into the sky on a motorbike.
I liked this trippy section too, where the world changes shape. Just the wackiness of it all and not knowing what was coming next is really what pulled me through this game.
This is a fairly inexpensive spin-off, and it's only about 3 hours worth of main content, but I can see why Trials fans would be left a bit wanting. There's no multiplayer, and that's a huge deal. There are leaderboards, but they weren't working at the time when we reviewed this. There's also no user level creator, and I think that there are probably user levels out there for the last game created that are much better than anything that's in this one. But even so, Hex, I had a good time with this. I feel like we need to defend it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But the fact is, this isn't a Trials about beating your friends' scores or replaying for the perfect medal, which is kind of the whole point of this series for a lot of people, and I get that. But for all its silliness, I think even though I know the other Trials games are better, I had more fun with this. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5.
I'm giving it 3.5 as well. And now it's time for the Good Game Roundtable chat, and joining me is NichBoy and Goose. Welcome.
Hi there. Hello.
Hi, NichBoy. Firstly, why don't you like fun? Why didn't you like Trials of the Blood Dragon?
Because with my motorcycle racing games, I enjoy being on a motorcycle for most of the time.
Oh, that is fair.
Yeah.
That's still a good time though. But we're not here to have an in-depth discussion about why you're wrong. We're here to talk about something else.
Yes, actually, we're here to talk about the fact that there are a couple of games we saw at E3 that actually didn't make the cut of our last episode, so we thought we'd have a chat about those. And Nick, you didn't make it to E3 with us, did you?
No, thanks for reminding me.
No, that's all right. But you did get a chance to play Halo Wars 2, the beta that came out.
I
and
did.
so what were your thoughts on that?
That one's interesting. I mean, that beta came out, they announced that the game's coming, and they had the big thing in the press conference, and then you got to play the game, just multiplayer. So Halo Wars, for those of you who don't remember, was a real-time strategy on a console. That was its big selling point. Second big selling point was that it's set in the Halo universe. Third big selling point is kind of just all grey. It's just all grey, and it doesn't really look that good.
RTS started on console though. It's nice to have it back. I liked the first Halo Wars.
Yeah, I think it's really great that they've made another one, and that game was, you know, successful for what it was. People who like that game really love that game, so I thought I'd dive in and take a look at it. This beta is really designed for people who missed the old game because it's just multiplayer. There's no single player. There's a tutorial, but it's actually just 3 minutes of a man talking at you that I kind of fell asleep halfway through. So I did terribly in it. But from memory, it kind of feels exactly how Halo Wars was. It works really well with the controller, and it looks great. It had a bit of the Gears of War remaster about it, where I looked at Halo Wars 2 and I went, oh, this looks exactly like Halo Wars. And then I looked back at Halo Wars and I went, no, this looks way better than Halo Wars. But on the macro level, everything kind of looks the same. But when you zoom in, textures, buddy.
Yeah, it looks
That's
good.
what you're all about.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Dem textures.
Dem textures. It's just so nice to have more RTS.
Yes.
Even though it's a sequel of a game that we've already played, and it maybe even if it's exactly the same game with better textures, there's just not enough RTS. And whenever I play RTS, I get so happy because they're so all-consuming and lovely to play.
And this is one of those games that's coming out with the Xbox Play Anywhere deal, so you can play it on mouse and keyboard on a computer, or you can play it with the controller.
Don't you think that's going to be pretty divisive though? Because because the reason I never played the first Halo Wars, and I love the Halo series, is because it would be an RTS with a controller, and I just didn't even want to get into that. I thought that will never work.
But are you into the idea of Halo RTS with mouse and keyboard on a computer?
Totally. I'm into all RTSs with a mouse and keyboard, nothing else. So I can see myself playing it there. I just don't see the appeal on console.
Because you're an elitist.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. So am I, though. But I think they made it work with a controller. We actually talked to the Halo Wars 2 executive producer at E3, and I think we have a clip of that interview.
It's probably over there.
The core of our team at 343, we grew up on RTS. We have a bunch of old school Command & Conquer players, Warcraft 2. So it's been really fun to, actually build an RTS ourselves.
How hard is it to balance a game like this?
So for us on cross-platform side, it's a bit of a challenge, but one of the key things with this is making sure that the control schemes feel right for both platforms. So we start from the base of Halo Wars. Those guys did a great job with the first one, really good, intuitive control scheme, nice and easy to play on console. So we took that and we've built upon the foundation that they laid for us. And of course, we also have a Windows 10 version too.
I actually got to check out a couple of indie games as well on the show floor, some of the smaller games that didn't have as much hype. And one of them was a little third-person stealth game called Aragami, developed by a small Spanish team called Linceworks. And it kind of felt like harking back to the old days of stealth, things like Splinter Cell and sort of Ninja Gaiden in there as well. It had a beautiful art style, and it had this great little mechanic where you sort of bounced between shadows and hid from guards. So the idea was you spent the whole time staying out of sight, and it was getting quite a lot of attention.
So what kind of stealth is this? Is this sort of like Metal Gear, you go in and clear out a space, or are you trying to avoid everything?
It was quite linear. There were a lot of corridor sections, but the idea was that you could try and get through all of it without actually having any combat whatsoever, any conflict.
Oh, cool.
So the idea is that you can actually sneak past all the guards, or there were some sort of mythical powers in there as well. And again, it was just like a great little mechanic that they decided to build a whole game around. And in fact, the game was part of an honors project originally, and it got such great reviews from their peers, and it just got so much traction that eventually they found themselves under the guise of Sony. I actually had a chat to the devs, who were really lovely. It was almost like they were little fish in a big pond.
What's it been like seeing people play your game here at E3?
Oh, well, it's just great. We've been in some events until now at Gamescom and AGX in Birmingham, but none of them were like this. I mean, it's always curious see how people play your game, because you just get used to it. And when people play it in so many different ways, you get a lot of feedback.
What's it like just to be around a lot of these big games that are here as well? Like, you're in this section here. Is it intimidating? Is it inspiring? What do you guys take away from an event like this?
Well, a little bit of both, I think. I mean, yesterday in the E3 conference, they just put us. There was 1 second of Aragami there in the video, so we were like, "What? No, just put other guys. We are not that important." I mean, we still don't believe where we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you realize it, you're just proud to be here.
It's nice when you find a little game that doesn't get much attention that makes you happy.
Yeah, it was actually really refreshing to speak to some developers who just hadn't got swept up in the whole sort of corporate side of the E3 yet as well. So that was nice.
Speaking of corporate, if there's a game that I would call the most corporate game, I think it might be GT. It just feels like, it's like, what is GT nowadays?
It's a racing game in a business suit, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's this weird thing going on with the Gran Turismo series where it's like they've never released the game they want to make. They put out Gran Turismo Prologue or PSP and now Sport, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've always felt like maybe because of cross-generational problems, they just take too long.
Yeah.
Just build your game and get it out there. Like, I remember one of them had half the cars were low res and half were high res.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, but yeah, GT Sport, I'm actually excited. I sat in this like white tubey thing and played it with like an amazing wheel, and that definitely added to the experience.
That'll all come with the game.
Yeah, I hope so. They cost 30 grand apparently.
Those things
so
took
maybe not.
They took like 3 hours to line up for as well.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
I'm
Well, I got
guessing-
my own pod for half an hour, and
course you
but the game itself was actually really fun. It's sport, so I imagine that means the cars are more sporty.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the point of it was, normally with GT, I feel like there's a barrier. You know, like I get in and I just spin out straight away, or I hit a wall, or all the other cars are going so slowly, and I'm just like crazy guy in the mix. But this, I didn't feel like I had that barrier. I didn't spin out. There were assists that were good, and I had a good race.
Is this, I mean, I like the Forza Horizon series more than I like Forza because of that reason, where I feel like it's a little more forgiving and it's a little more arcadey. Is this what they're going for with Sport?
I think it's an interesting comparison. Not maybe accurate though, because Forza Horizon is a big flashy graphics burnout fun fest, whereas GT Sport is is still very much a clean, simulated experience, but it just feels a bit more accessible to me.
It was interesting to see on the show floor, you had this stark contrast between you had Forza Horizon 3 on one side of the show floor that was just like pumping music and had bright lights. And
Sexy
the game,
Australians, mate!
It was, and they had this great simulator setup that like threw you around that I even had to drive in. And then you walked over to the GT Sport area and it was like this clinical area with these little pods and everyone was sitting in there with these like really serious expressions.
One day we're going to release the game.
And I even looked at the game at one point and thought, this looks like all the old GT games I've seen with that really cold city without much character. But if the racing's fun, that's all that really matters.
I get into it though. You know, I never think I'll like, same with the Forza series, you know, the not Horizon version of Forza. I never think I'll get into this clean, cold, calculated racing. And then after a couple of hours, I'm just pulled right in and I love it and I soak it up.
Pulled out of the pod.
Yeah,
like, I want to stay
out
longer.
of the pod. My cheeks getting stuck to the weird plastic leather thing they had in there.
That's why the line was so huge.
Of course.
Yeah, just removing buttock skin from all of the pods.
But to be fair, you did spin out a few times. You weren't racing perfectly.
I went to the sandy area once and I recovered.
Okay.
So yeah, I had all the assists on and it felt good.
You did also have someone next to you talking into your ear, I think, giving you like hints the whole time.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to help me.
And when you say recovered, you mean just didn't die in a crash, not won the race.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I finished the race.
Oh, okay.
That's all that matters. I do like that they've got this point system where the better you drive, the more points you get, and I think that happens with the skill balancing, so I look forward to seeing who I end up racing with.
We'll all be at the bottom of the ladder somewhere together.
Yeah, just crashing into each other. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, that was some of the games that we couldn't fit into our big E3 episode. Thanks for joining us, guys.
No worries.
Why don't we go play some more Blood Dragon? It'll be great. Come on, guys. Come play. It's going to be fun. Come on.
He's really sold on it.
Come on, let's go have a game. There's sick 80s themes.
80s?
Don't touch me.
Well, here it is, the first consumer version of the Oculus Rift. This is it, Bajo, the brave new world of VR.
It's exciting, isn't it? You know, after seeing a whole bunch of VR at E3, I'm just so keen to put this through its paces.
Yeah, and what better way to do that than to test out two of the most high-profile and meaty VR experiences available at the moment. The chilly survival horror of Edge of Nowhere, and the RPG about getting older, Chronos. And Bajo, neither of these games are in first person, which I found really surprising.
Let's start with Chronos.
Come, sit. Listen all. Listen well. Tonight I speak to you the tale. Tale of the Scouring.
The world in Chronos is an interesting blend of contemporary and fantasy, where an apocalyptic event known as the Scouring unleashed beasts and a dragon from another world, which wiped out modern society.
But once a year, a great stone in some rundown facility lets you enter into the other worlds. So your tribe sends you off as a young adventurer to go there and slay the dragon.
This is very much a Dark Souls light experience. My first Dark Souls.
Oh.
There's a similar sword and board style combat, big bosses, bonfire-esque save points, S-Disc flask style health, interconnecting dungeons, and also just like Souls, dying is central to the experience. Your health potions are very limited and they don't regenerate until you die, and with plenty of tough enemies in your way, death is always coming for you.
Yeah, but it isn't quite as hard or as intimidating as Souls, though, thanks to a few difficulty options. It's a bit more in the vein of Zelda, I guess, with satisfying dungeon crawling and puzzle solving. But you will die, and since the Great Stone is only active once a year, every time you do, you'll respawn a whole year older.
And your age affects how you can level up your character. So when you're young, strength and agility points are cheap, while arcane points are expensive. But as you hit 40, that flips around, and once you get to 60, you simply can't level up strength and agility at all. And every decade you hit, you'll be given a choice of perks. I love this concept, Tex.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it certainly puts more pressure on you to make each life count and plan out your build carefully. I just wish there was a little bit more going on with the arcane powers, though, like some actual magic and spellcasting. All you really get are a few different stones which power up your counterattacks and charge up after a while to let you unleash a flurry of powerful attacks.
looking forward to becoming a wizened old spell-slinging wizard, but alas, I finished this game at around age 70, and I do wonder if you can actually die of old age, like at 100. I quite liked that fixed camera view. It reminded me of an old Resident Evil game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about it. You're kind of standing there in the room like a bystander looking left to right. It's different. I guess it's just not what I initially thought VR would be, this third-person view. But anyway, what did you think of the game overall?
I really had a good time with this. You know, it's only 10 hours, which is a bit short for RPGs generally, but I think it's perfect for VR RPGs. So I'm giving it 4 stars.
Yeah, it hit a lot of the right notes, didn't it? And I think it's a satisfying and deep RPG experience. So I'm giving it 4 as well.
Now it's off to the frozen wastes in Edge of Nowhere.
Edge of Nowhere comes to us from the folks at Insomniac Games, who've made games like Ratchet & Clank and Sunset Overdrive.
It's the 1930s and the heyday of expeditions.
Oh, you all right there, Victor?
Fine, thank you.
You play as Victor, a man who is going after his fiancée whose expedition to the Antarctic has gone all pear-shaped.
Simon Edwards is heading up the expedition, right? He's a hell of a man.
Well, he used to be.
And it's not long until you find out why that is after you stumble across some less than friendly local wildlife and you start to lose your mind.
You cannot fall back into this, Victor. Open the door.
Stay the hell away from me, Edwards!
And by wildlife, we mean creepy alien-type things that range from balls that explode spears out at you, head crabs, Halo's Flood, and a few hints of Cthulhu.
This is mostly a mix of the sort of ice pick climbing and jumping we saw in the recent Tomb Raider games. You can't help but look down when you're up so high, precariously perched on an ice wall, with some survival horror sprinkled in for good measure. You do find a shotgun, but you can only ever hold a handful of shells, so it really is only a last resort.
Gonna shoot the bubbles, gonna shoot the bubbles. Bam. Nope, we're running. You get a slice of it. Run, run! But you can get through most areas just by sneaking, since most enemies can't see you. And they will quickly go investigate any sounds, so throwing rocks to kite enemies out of the way or into traps is the name of the game.
You can only ever have 2 rocks in your pocket at one time, though, so you have to be crafty about how you use them. You are in caves a lot, though, so you usually find more rocks lying around. And it's always satisfying when you manage to lure a bunch of enemies into one trap.
If things do go wrong, you can always try and fight them off with your shotty or swing your pickaxe, but most enemies will insta-kill you. So fighting is rarely a good idea. Other than that, your only other option is just to run for it. I'm okay. Surely they can't jump. Dun, dun, dun. I really liked how you use your head to look for where you want to aim your shotgun. I thought that was awesome. It's kind of like using the Wii U's gamepad to aim, you know, with the gyro thing, but fun.
Yeah, it's quite intuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's some tried and true adventuring and survival horror mechanics with a lot of polish. This is a fairly short game. You can get through it in about 3 hours, but I don't know, that felt like a good length to me.
Yeah, I didn't mind the length either, but we should point out that this isn't a cheap game. You certainly pay a premium for this kind of VR experience. There is a solid story though, and watching Victor slowly lose his mind to try and find his fiancée in this desperate environment leads to some great moments.
Fascinating.
I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
It's a 4 from me. All right, well, let's just quickly talk a little bit more broadly about the headset itself and the use of VR in these games. So, what are your impressions?
Well, there's a lot to like here. I like that it's all black. I feel like I'm wearing Batman's VR gear, but also it's quite light and it's reasonably comfortable to wear. Although I did find after long sessions, it really started to pinch right here on my forehead, like it kind of pushed down.
Well, one thing that's a plus for me is how simple it all seemed to set up. There's no power supply needed, you just plug a few cables into the PC, put the camera down, run some setup software, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's pretty painless. It's a shame none of those fancy motion controllers are available yet, though. You just have to use a standard Xbox controller, which kind of means that gameplay-wise, there isn't anything in either of those games that needs VR.
Yeah, you could play both of those games just as easily on a standard monitor.
Yeah, even so, I was really impressed with how much VR added to a third-person game like this.
It does feel massive in here. Yeah, there is that sense of being there and feeling the scale and grandeur of the locations. It certainly adds something special to the experience. Long way down. I suddenly got very cold.
Jump! Ooh, oh, okay, that's something new, getting the vertigo when you look down.
I just feel like these experiences would have been more impactful if they'd been in VR in first person. That's weird, face to face with myself. Hi there.
They certainly would have been more impactful for me because I'd be vomiting everywhere because I get so sick in first person. I don't know, I still think it added to the experience. You know, I felt like I've been in these worlds. I can certainly get a sense of scale by being able to look up at these mountains that I'm walking through. Like, it's so different being behind the character. But it is kind of like I'm another person there watching him. We have seen these kinds of games before, but the VR implementation did make it feel fresh and exciting. And the fixed cameras in Chronos meant there was zero motion sickness for me, even after playing hours on end. Oh, it's not going well. But that moving camera in Edge of Nowhere meant I did have to take a break every now and then.
Yeah, I didn't have any motion sickness in either game, although I suppose that has a lot to do with having the character there to focus on. Which way do I go now? Oh, up. Of course, where there are spikies ahead. Don't kill me. Plus, you can tell they've worked a lot on designing everything to help minimize that nausea, from little things like how rooms are spaced out to how fast you can move and how smooth the camera movements are.
There's definitely an art to making a comfortable VR experience, and we're in very early days, so this will continue to evolve. I was really curious about the final version of this for the resolution aspect, because with the earlier versions we played of the Rift, you could see that fly screen effect now and then, and it pulls you out of the moment. I still got that with this, not as much, but I think it's still there.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess because the dev kit version was so rough and everyone was like, well, this is just the dev kit, you know, the final release is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting it to be amazing, and it's certainly much better, but it's just not great. Maybe I set my expectations too high, I don't know. Oh, what was that? Now, we should also mention that both of these games were initially going to be Oculus Rift exclusives, which means in theory they would only work on the Oculus Rift headset, not any of the rival competitor ones like the HTC Vive.
And naturally, the internet was not happy about that.
No.
When you go out and spend a lot of money on these quite expensive kits, and then there's exclusive content locked, it's not good.
Yeah.
But to Oculus's credit, they have recently backtracked on blocking software that would let other headsets play their exclusive games. Nice pants. So using the right tools, any headset should be able to run these games, so it's a bit of a non-issue now.
Yeah, and Oculus are clearly trying to fund some of the more fleshed out VR experiences, so by opening up their software, really, everybody wins.
I look forward to the first game where I can build my own hideous character in VR. That'll be fun, and then like walk around with other people.
So, did you name the game for this week? It was Outernauts for iOS and Android. This sci-fi collect-em-all had you training and breeding alien beasts and then pitting them against your opponents in battle. And it was our Name the Game because it was brought to us by the talented folk at Insomniac Games who brought us this week's Edge of Nowhere.
Next week on the show, a new game by the team that made Limbo. We go inside.
And we try to survive the night in the terrifying multiplayer of Dead by Daylight.
That looks both super frightening and super fun. Also at ABC3 on Spawn Point this weekend, we check out how the crowd-funded platformer Mighty No. 9 turned out, also a bit scary, because it is so bad.
Don't forget you can catch NichBoy delivering the latest gaming news on Pocket every weekday on iView. Until next time, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out. Just keep moving, just keep calm. The ice is a long way down. Luckily there's a bit of PS2 draw distance down there, so it's not completely scary.